Is he okay? What?
They conquered the untamed Alaskan wild, tracking game, crafting shelters with their own hands, and surviving where most would falter. But away from the glare of TV lights, the Brown family of Alaskan Bush People weathered storms no one could have scripted. From fierce battles with cancer to raging wildfires, from painful divorces to heartbreaking loss.
Rain and I have decided we are no longer together.
It's been painful. It's been a heartache, for sure.
Their journey was as raw and unpredictable as the wilderness itself. Yet, true to their spirit, they forged new trails, building businesses, growing families, and reshaping their lives far from the forest. When the cameras went dark, their story didn't end. It took a turn no one saw coming. So, what became of the Bush family, and where are they now? We are about to find answers to those questions and much more than you signed up for. Billy Bryan Brown.
Step into the wild saga of Billy Bryan Brown, patriarch, frontiersman, legend, and, yes, a magnet for legal fireworks. Born December 3, 1952, Billy's early life is part John Wayne, part mystery. He met Amy, his wife, when she was just a teenager, and rumor has it, they fled to Texas together. Soon enough, in 1980, our Bush hero was caught trying to steal a horse with a buddy, apparently to ride into Mexico, and pleaded guilty. Probation it was for him. Fast forward to 2014, Billy launches Alaskan Bush People, rebranding his family as rugged hermits living off-grid in southeast Alaska and later Washington state. He became the gravel-voiced captain of a family ship navigating storms, salmon runs, and viral fame. But off-camera, things got stickier. In 2015, Billy, Amy, and 4 of their kids were hit with 60 counts of unsworn falsification, accused of lying about Alaska residency to collect dividend checks. Billy and son Joshua pleaded guilty, did 30 days of house arrest or community service, returned nearly $8,000, paid fines, and accepted responsibility. "I didn't keep good track of our movements," he groaned. Meanwhile, Billy's health was unraveling like a sweater. He struggled with seizures, sometimes 3 a week, and serious issues with his heart and liver. A few years before his death, a seizure landed him in a coma. The final curtain fell on February 7, 2021, when Billy suffered a fatal seizure at 68. His death left the franchise and the family's finances in legal limbo. His estate, managed by Amy, was thrown into court as an ex-business partner sued for $500,000 over an alleged contract gone dark. Discovery even got pulled into the fight. A legendary Bush patriarch, wrestling both wilderness and courtroom drama, battling illness and surviving just barely to leave behind a controversial legacy. But the family drama didn't die with Billy. In comes Amy Brown. Amy Brown. From the larger-than-life legend of Billy, we move to the tough-as-nails heart of the family, Amy Brown. Picture this: a teenage runaway turned Bush matriarch who would go head-to-head not just with Alaskan winters, but an unrelenting assassin known as Stage 3 lung cancer. In 2017, what began as back pain and fatigue blamed on arthritis turned into a bombshell diagnosis. Stage 3, soon Stage 4 lung cancer, discovered via a routine dental scan. Doctors gave her a 3% survival chance. Yeah, you heard that right. A grim outlook for a fierce woman used to cold winds and hunting gear. That moment became a pivot for the entire wolf pack. The family abandoned remote Alaska for California. UCLA Medical Center became accustomed to their visits. Amy endured brutal chemo and radiation that made sipping water feel like torture.
and dropped nearly 40 pounds. But then came the miracle. By late 2017, all traces of cancer vanished. On scans, on camera, in their hearts. Driven by that victory, the Browns moved to the North Cascade Mountains in Washington, a rough and remote but far more practical base for checkups. Ami's days became a routine of scans every 3 months, cautious optimism, and rebuilding what fierce isolation had once broken. Her cancer journey wasn't just a subplot, it transformed the show. What began as an off-grid survival saga morphed into a gritty, heartfelt family odyssey. Viewers rallied by the millions, sending prayers, religious bracelets, and glowing messages about faith and resilience. Ami became something of an ambassador for hope and a real face for lung cancer awareness. Through it all, the family matriarch stayed the calm center of the storm. When tensions or tragic threats loomed, her steady voice brought reason. She's been described as the voice of calm, the one holding things together even when the world around her teetered. But have the personal battles really ended? Recently, the family's legal troubles and internal chaos have spilled into the headlines. Her son Noah raised alarms in April 2025, claiming welfare checks suggested Ami might be off her medication and deteriorating, and alleging drug use involving younger daughter Rain. Now, that sounds like something Ami definitely didn't sign up for when she beat cancer. So, here's the cliffhanger. She survived the most unforgiving disease out there. But is she still holding on to her role as matriarch? Or has the real fight just begun? Only time will tell. Next up is Brown's eldest son, Matt. Matt Brown. Matt is the definition of a rugged woodsman. According to his Discovery bio, the eldest Brown kid grew up sharpening axes and hunting salmon before he learned to juggle Sanskrit and petroglyphs, or tend bees. He brought skills, wit, and responsibility to the show, a real next in line for the family throne until alcohol sneaked in. Remember that season when the Browns' boat broke down and suddenly city life lured Matt into Juneau's party scene? I could see myself spiraling, he admitted, as casual drinking turned into a dangerous habit. His first rehab stint came in 2016, after a DUI and a damaged bike chase through a Walmart parking lot in 2013 added to his legal ledger. 3 days behind bars and 18 months probation. Despite those setbacks, he soldiered back, sort of. Recovered, then relapsed. By 2018, alcohol still had its claws in him, landing him at the Betty Ford Center in California for round 2. The show's producers were quietly writing him out, or maybe his dad was, a nasty brawl, and an ultimatum to get help or be cut from the show pushed him out. But that's not all. Things took an even darker turn. In 2020, 2 women, one a family assistant, came forward accusing Matt of assault incidents from back in 2018. The Los Angeles Police Department investigated, but the district attorney declined to prosecute, citing insufficient evidence. Still, the public impact was seismic. He was gone, estranged, and rumors swirled. Since then, Matt went off-grid in a literal way. He set up shop in California, trading snow and assays for urban calm, creativity, and sobriety. Instagram shows him as a beekeeper, clay sculptor, artist, a calmer, quieter version of himself. He even launched a YouTube channel to candidly talk about addiction, recovery, and every grimy, hopeful step in between. Family ties? Frayed. Few seem to speak his name on the show these days, but fans see him differently, a lone wild man trying to rebuild, apart from the algorithms and cameras. So, will Matt ever reconcile with the Browns or the person he once was? Again, let's wait and see. Up next is Bam Bam Brown. The Brown family's chaos, their wilderness antics, and smack dab in the center sits Joshua Bam Bam Brown, the unspoken glue keeping the engine humming. He's the second eldest son, the quiet builder, the rule enforcer with gravel in his voice and steel in his bones. Born in September 1984, Bam was raised elbow-deep in bush life. Hunting, building, surviving. He wasn't the loud one, but the one who got stuff done, without fanfare. When disaster struck, Mom Ami's lung cancer scare in 2017, followed by patriarch Billy's sudden death in 2021, it was Bam who held the compass steady. He coordinated medical chaos, helped manage the funeral, and picked up the familial slack without missing a beat. But let's add some legal spice. In a head-snapper twist, Bam and his dad both took the fall for residency fraud tied to Alaska's permanent fund dividend. They pleaded guilty in 2015, accepted restitution, fines, and 30 days of house arrest, and spared the rest of the siblings. Bam left with regret and lessons learned, but kept his calm. Post-show life? He eased into a quieter rhythm, carving wood with chainsaws, snapping hauntingly beautiful photographs, even launching a startup aimed at sustainable, tech-driven living in the middle of nowhere, obviously, with just enough privacy to keep the trolls guessing. But there's more. Bam recorded the audiobook version of his late father's memoir, One Wave at a Time, giving voice to a dream Billy never got to say himself. It dropped on May 18th, 2025, and it's as raw and real as it gets. That's the other side of the rugged craftsman, a reluctant leader, a man balancing legacy with survival, and forging a life beyond the cameras. Then there is Bear Brown. Meet Solomon Bear. Brown, rugged, restless, and maybe a little reckless. Born June 10, 1987, in Wrangell, Alaska, Bear was raised off-grid, learning survival straight from the bush, until discovery turned him into reality TV royalty. He's the wild-eyed force of Alaskan Bush People, embodying extreme living with a side of drama. Bear insists the show isn't fake. No, he says. Crew built stuff, just so cameras could stand. But he grew up in Alaska until age 30, so something real is there. On screen, Bear added adrenaline, hunting, building, and sparking the family's fierce public identity. Off camera, he leaned into creative expression, art, poetry, authenticity, a reprieve from the family man TV template. But fame comes with scars. Substance abuse rumors, health strains of remote life, and erratic behavior punctured his image. Love and controversy swirled around his personal life. Bear and Raven Adams's on-again, off-again saga played out in tabloids and Instagram. Engagements, splits, reunions. Then, marriage in January 2022, followed by rocky turbulence and custody battles. Co-parenting their sons, River, Cove, and baby Everest, became a public balancing act between apology-laden Instagram posts and privacy pleas. Then came legal trouble, a domestic violence arrest in March 2022 after a heated dispute with Raven, filmed and reported in stark detail. The plea deal required fines, surrendering firearms, and keeping out of trouble, barely stepping back from the edge. Fans cried foul. Some said the show was too scandal-ridden to continue, calling for it to be cancelled. Even locals eyed the Browns with suspicion. When they scouted Alaska set land, Bear fired back at accusations of being amateurs or con artists, branding the journalism dead and defending his upbringing as based in honor, not TV hype. Bear is a man wrestling fame, fatherhood, and fallout, trying to carve out calm in the chaos. A simple extension of the family drama, but away from the screen. Then there is Gabe Brown. Enter Gabe Starbuck Brown, born December 15, 1989. Raised in the bush, schooled by wolves, survival etched into his DNA. If rugged resilience had a poster child, it'd be Gabe, the family's stealthy hunter, resourceful builder, and grounded spirit navigating both Alaskan wilds and TV's glare. On Alaskan Bush People, Gabe wasn't just another face in the wolf pack. He was the dependable backbone. Need food? Gabe hunted or fished it. Shelter? Gabe built it. Off-grid living wasn't glamorous. It was Gabe's everyday and his teaching ground, as he passed timeless skills to his siblings and viewers alike. But the wilderness isn't just about axes and salmon. It's a mirror to the soul. Gabe's inner life? Deep, quiet, spiritual. The man tells tales of wandering into the woods, following an instinct so vivid it led him to a church illuminated by moonlight, and a plaque quoting scripture that echoed his journey in real time. Dark woods, divine light, synchronicity. Talk about pathfinding with a purpose. As family drama unfolded, the public unraveling of controversies, legal tangles over residency fraud or show earnings, Gabe was the balm. A calm counterpoint amid legal fireworks, he kept his head low, even as others soared, or stumbled, into headlines. He's also quietly built a reputation as a role model, not through flashy headlines, but through steadfast authenticity, optimism, loyalty, self-reliance. Gabe embodies the virtues of a man who's learned from the land, and from letting real life, not cameras, guide him. No Beyoncé-level drama here, just the steady beat of a man walking his own path. He's not just living off the grid, he's living on purpose. Then there is Noah Brown. Noah, Mr. Fix-It. Brown, born July 18, 1992, is the youngest son in the Alaskan Bush People pack, with mechanics at heart and a tool belt to match. Raised off-grid, this kid didn't just play with toys, he took them apart. Rumor has it, his room looked less like a bedroom and more like a mad scientist's lab crossed with a metal shop. Circuit boards, robots, rudimentary water systems, you name it, Noah tinkered with it. Science wasn't just his hobby, it was survival. On screen, he became indispensable. When the wolves howl and the furnace fails, it was Noah you'd call a junkyard savior, DIY guru, bush innovator. But his best inventions weren't just machines, they were moments, like the handcrafted ring he designed for Rain when he proposed on that Jelly Sky sunset hike in Juneau, April 2017. By August 2018, Noah and Rain were married in Idaho, keeping it cozy, creative, and just slightly outside the homestead drama. Fatherhood followed in February 2019 with baby Elijah Connor Brown, ushering in a new chapter. Still inventive, but now as a dad building cradles and rattles in that same lab workshop mindset. The proud Pop's quote, "I'm starting construction very soon on a cradle, and I'm gonna build a little baby rattle. That should be cool, I think." But keep those workshops' doors locked, and drama followed. In 2016, the Browns got tangled in a residency scandal over Alaska's permanent fund dividends. Noah was among those charged, along with his siblings, in a case involving unsworn falsification of residency claims. Then came one of the toughest blows, the loss of their home in a 2020 wildfire, and the shocking death of patriarch Billy in February 2021. Noah's world shifted overnight as grief and wild smoke consumed the life they built. Recently, tensions turned raw. Amid legal battles and headline noise, Noah filed for a welfare check on his mom, Amy, and sister Rain, citing concerns over drug abuse and volatility, though his restraining order attempts were denied. All in all, the wilderness still echoes, and possibly so does hope. Then we have Snowbird Brown. If the Alaskan wilderness could take human form, it might just look like a Mora Snowbird Brown, quiet, strong, and fiercely untamed. Born November 18, 1994, Snowbird is the Brown family's eldest daughter, raised among snow-topped peaks, dense forests, and the constant hum of survival. From a young age, she wasn't the girl chasing makeup tutorials. She was chasing wild animals, sometimes literally. On Alaskan Bush People, Snowbird stood out for her unpolished authenticity. She was the one with a gap-toothed smile, a baseball cap, and an uncanny ability to track wildlife. While other reality TV personalities leaned on glam squads, Birdie leaned on instincts. She fished, hunted, and foraged alongside her brothers, proving she could thrive in the wild as fiercely as any man in the wolf pack. Her role wasn't just physical labor, it was emotional glue. Birdie was often the one who could diffuse tension, calm a sibling storm, or quietly carry the family through hardship. And hardship came. From the residency fraud scandal in 2015 to the devastating loss of patriarch Billy Brown in 2021, she remained steadfast in the middle of chaos. But life threw a deeply personal curveball in late 2021. Birdie was diagnosed with 2 large tumors, one on each ovary. Facing possible cancer, she underwent major surgery, removing both masses, along with a significant portion of her reproductive system. The ordeal wasn't just physically taxing, it was an emotional reckoning. At only 27, she was suddenly confronting the possibility she might never have children of her own. Her recovery was filmed for the show, offering viewers a raw, unfiltered look at her strength and vulnerability. Through it all, Snowbird's relationship with fame remained complicated. She avoided social media compared to her siblings, preferring privacy over constant public scrutiny. Her rare interviews and on-screen moments were glimpses into a life she valued for its wild freedom, not its TV ratings. Still, she hasn't been entirely free of controversy. Fans have questioned the show's authenticity, and by extension, her role in it. But Birdie has rarely engaged in the back and forth. She's more likely to be found in the woods than on the internet defending herself. And finally, we have Rain Brown. Catherine Raindrop Brown, known to the world as Rain, wasn't just born into the Alaskan bush. She was born into a life where the rules of the outside world rarely applied. The youngest member of the Brown family arrived on November 23, 2002. Rain's early years were a blend of fairy tale wilderness and hard survivalist reality. While most teens her age were glued to smartphones, she was hauling water, learning to hunt, and growing up under the ever-watchful cameras of Alaskan Bush People. From the start, Rain brought a spark to the show. With her quick wit, bright smile, and a tendency to speak her mind, she was often the family's comic relief. She wasn't afraid to question her brothers, challenge her parents, or occasionally call out the absurdity of their lifestyle on camera. But underneath that humor was a young girl navigating the pressures of growing up on TV. Her role evolved as she matured. Viewers watched her transform from the baby of the wolf pack into a young woman with her own voice and ambitions. She took on more responsibility in the family's survival tasks, helped with the move from Alaska to Washington, and began sharing more of her personal journey with fans. But life in the bush wasn't without its storms. In 2018, Rain opened up about her struggles with depression, a rare moment of vulnerability in a family often portrayed as unshakable. Her honesty resonated deeply with fans, sparking conversations about mental health, even in the most remote corners of the world. Rain has also faced her share of public scrutiny, from rumors about her sexuality to criticism over her occasional forays into a more modern lifestyle. She's had to navigate a spotlight that can be both adoring and unforgiving. True to form, she's handled it with a mix of candor and a sharp sense of humor, often clapping back at online trolls. After her father's passing, Rain stepped into an even more mature role within the family, honoring his memory while continuing the show's legacy. Yet, she remains unpredictable, equally likely to post a heartfelt tribute, as she is to disappear offline for weeks at a time. And that leaves her fans wondering, will Rain stay in the world her father built? Or is she destined to carve her own trail far beyond the shadow of the Alaskan bush? Nobody knows for sure. Wilderness challenges.
We all know that life in the Alaskan wilderness isn't a postcard, it's a test. For the Alaskan Bush People cast, every season brought new battles against nature that could break even the toughest survivalists. While the show often wrapped these struggles in family bonding moments, the reality was far harsher. First, there's the weather. The Browns weren't just dealing with a bit of cold. We're talking bone-cracking winters, with temperatures plunging far below zero. Icy winds that could slice through layers of clothing, and blizzards that could bury cabins in hours. A single misstep, like getting wet without a fire nearby, could mean frostbite, or worse. Then, there's the food struggle. Hunting and fishing weren't hobbies, they were lifelines. One failed hunt meant lean meals, and in the bush, grocery stores weren't an option. The family had to track deer, catch salmon, and forage for wild plants, all while competing with bears and wolves for the same resources. Speaking of wildlife, the Browns' backyard was home to predators that didn't care about TV schedules. Grizzlies could wander dangerously close, moose could charge without warning, and wolves prowled the shadows. It was a daily game of awareness. One slip in vigilance, and the consequences could be deadly. The terrain itself was another enemy. Steep mountains, slippery river crossings, and dense forests made even simple travel a challenge. Moving supplies or building cabins wasn't a weekend DIY project. It was a back-breaking, weeks-long effort, often in unpredictable weather. And then, the isolation. No neighbors for miles, no cell service, and no quick rescue if something went wrong. Injuries, illnesses, or even dental problems became major emergencies. Viewers might recall episodes where medical help required boat rides, plane trips, or hours-long treks through unforgiving conditions. Even after moving from Alaska to Washington, the Browns continued to face survival challenges. Different climate, same grit. Harsh rain, unpredictable seasons, and adapting to new terrain meant the wilderness was still their toughest co-star. Through it all, the cast's resilience became their defining trait. They didn't just live in the wild. They fought it, learned from it, and, in their own way, thrived in it. Major controversies. For all its wilderness charm and family unity, Alaskan Bush People was no stranger to controversy, and at times,
those headlines overshadowed the survival stories. One of the biggest scandals came in 2014, when Billy Brown and his son, Bam Bam, were charged with falsifying residency documents to receive Alaska's permanent fund dividends. Prosecutors claimed the family wasn't living in Alaska for the required time, despite the show portraying them deep in the bush. Both pleaded guilty to reduced charges, serving short jail sentences and paying fines, a public blow to their true Alaskan image. The show also faced accusations of being staged. Former locals and online critics alleged that the Browns lived closer to civilization than portrayed, and that some wild situations were orchestrated for dramatic effect. Discovery never admitted to fabrication, but the whispers stuck, making some viewers question what was real. Individual cast members also found themselves in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. Matt Brown's struggles with substance abuse became public, leading to rehab stints and his eventual departure from the series. Bear Brown faced legal trouble when he was arrested in 2022 on domestic violence charges, though the case was later dismissed. These personal crises were hard to reconcile with the show's family-first message. Even the family's relocation from Alaska to Washington sparked outrage among fans. Many accused the Browns of abandoning the very wilderness lifestyle that made them famous, while others saw it as a practical move due to Billy's declining health. Despite the backlash, Alaskan Bush People continued to air, leaning into its loyal fan base. But behind every survival victory on screen, there was a shadow of off-screen controversy, reminding viewers that in reality TV, the wildest storms don't always come from nature. The show's fate. After years of surviving bear encounters, icy winters, and even harsher headlines, Alaskan Bush People entered an uncertain chapter. The death of patriarch Billy Brown in February 2021 marked a turning point, both emotionally for the family and practically for the show. His absence left a void no amount of dramatic drone shots or rustic adventures could truly fill. Following his passing, the Browns, long celebrated as Alaska's wildest clan, had already been living far from the state's rugged frontiers. In 2017, the family relocated to a 435-acre property in Washington state to be closer to medical care for Billy and to start anew. While some fans understood, others saw it as the final nail in the coffin of the Alaskan identity. The show's later seasons documented this transition, but after season 14 aired in 2022, there's been a long silence from Discovery. No official cancellation, no confirmed renewal, just the quiet hum of speculation. Some believe the network is waiting for the right storyline. Others think the show has run its natural course. Meanwhile, the cast members have scattered into their own personal storylines. Matt remains separate from the family, pursuing sobriety and a life away from cameras. Bear and Raven navigate a turbulent relationship in the public eye. Gabe and Noah focus on family life, while Snowbird and Rain maintain the wilderness spirit, occasionally sharing glimpses on social media. If Alaskan Bush People never return, it leaves behind a complicated legacy, part survival epic, part family saga, and part reality TV cautionary tale. Whether in Alaska's icy wilds or Washington's mountain slopes, the Browns have proven one thing: no matter the location, the drama follows, or does it? Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. And that's it from us today. Until next time, thank you for watching.